Welcome and thanks for joining us. I'm Kara from OnPay's Partners team.
And I'm Jessica from OnPay's Product Development team.
Today, we'll be talking about some new legislation taking effect this summer in cities and states all across the country.
These include federal updates, changes to minimum wage, and paid family and sick leave laws.
And we'll also be covering a few updates regarding overtime thresholds, ban-the-box laws, and predictive scheduling. You'll come away with a high-level understanding of these updates, with some direction if you need to review them further for your state or locality.
We'll start by talking about one of the federal updates taking place, the Employees Benefit Security Administration Final Rule. As of July 27th, 2020, retirement plan providers will have the option to provide documents to covered individuals through electronic methods, such as email or through a website, instead of traditional mail. The law allows employees to elect for paper mailings at no cost to them at any time.
And this law was put in place to prevent administrators from having to send large volumes of paper through the mail. It expands employers' ability to provide retirement plan disclosures electronically to reduce that administrative expense and make the disclosures more readily accessible and useful for employees.
Next, let's talk about minimum wage changes. For employees, it's like Christmas in July, since several states have increased their minimum wage effective July 1. The states with changes are listed here on the screen.
And we do have a more in-depth article that covers these changes. So if you're curious to see what changes were made in your state or city, make sure to check that out.
And don't forget, most employers are required to post the current minimum wage notices in a place that's visible to employees. If you've got employees working remotely, make sure to check with your local government to see if you can send the notice through email or post it in an employee portal, or if you need to include a paper copy when you mail the employee's first paycheck after the increase.
And just to spice things up, don't forget that there could be multiple state, county, and even city notice requirements. Be sure to check with your local governments to make sure you've got the most up-to-date information posted. And speaking of, it's possible your local or state's minimum wage doesn't quite sync up with the federal rates. As an example, the minimum wage rate in the city of Chicago, Cook County, and the state of Illinois are all different and different from the federal rate.
As required by law, employers must pay the minimum wage that's most favorable to employees, whether that be the city rate, the state rate, or the federal rate.
And we also saw an increase in the overtime salary threshold for 2 states starting on July 1st. Now, I have to say there was an increase at the federal level on January 1st of this year to make it $684 a week. The federal government, they've been discussing this increase for a few years, so some states began to implement legislation to align with the expected federal rate.
Yeah, let's take a look at how they break down here on the screen. Colorado and Washington most recently passed their laws, and they became effective July 1 to increase those salary thresholds. Some other adjustments came along with those laws to eligibility to be considered salary. And these laws were passed prior to the federal increase, so just keep that in mind.
So Jessica, with these differing rates, when in doubt, which one should employers go off of?
So like we just talked about in the previous slide, you should go with the rate that's most favorable to the employee, aka the highest rate. In this case, the rate matches or is lower than the federal rate, so you'd want to pay the federal rate.
Got it. And some states, they've also expanded or updated their paid family and or sick leave laws. Just for our listeners out there, what's the difference between the two?
Paid family leave is usually for a specific purpose. It's usually money paid by a state fund or an insurer, and it's for employees while they're recovering from a serious illness, taking care of a newborn child or a newly adopted child, or taking care of an ill family member. We usually see paid family leave as a payroll tax on either the employer side, the employee side, or both. With sick leave, it is actually paid by the employer. It's usually accrued, and it's not based around a payroll tax.
And we have some of those updates outlined on the screen here. Let's look at New Jersey to start with. Jess, take it away.
Yeah, so New Jersey's Family Leave Insurance, commonly referred to as FLI, now allows for 12 weeks of leave in a 12-month period to bond with a newly adopted child or a foster child or a newly born child, or when an employee or a family member is sick or injured. Payroll contributions from the employees finance this program in New Jersey. Next up, let's talk about Chicago. They've amended their paid sick leave ordinance to cover more employees. So now the ordinance covers all employees who work 80 hours in the city of Chicago within a 120-day period. Keep in mind, you actually don't have to have a business located physically in Chicago. So if you just sent an employee for 2 weeks to work on a specific job in the city of Chicago, they would be eligible. So it is a pretty sweeping change there. In California and Washington, D.C., the length of medical leave has been updated. We've also got an article about all of these changes in the Payroll 101 section of our website, so be sure to check it out.
And we've also been seeing that ban the box laws have become a more common trend across the country. Jess, can you tell us a little bit more about this?
Sure. Generally, ban the box laws prohibit an employer from asking about a candidate's criminal record on a job application. So usually they would check a box, hence the name.
35 states, more than 150 cities and counties, and the District of Columbia, they've adopted a ban the box or fair chance policy. And what's interesting too is that most recently, as of July 1st, Waterloo, Iowa was added to the list. So that's exactly why it's so important to check not only state, but local city requirements as well.
Yeah, so our final topic, let's talk about predictive scheduling. Predictive scheduling requires giving advanced notice to employees about their schedule. Ultimately, it's designed to eliminate on-call scheduling, posting and changing schedules without notice to the employees, or scheduling back-to-back closing and opening shifts. That can be really brutal on the employee, especially in retail or food service.
Yep. And most of the new laws, we're seeing that employers are required to post a schedule with at least 10 to 14 days notice. Latest locations to require predictive scheduling are Chicago and Oregon. And there are always changes in the world of payroll tax. We've always got your back here at OnPay. Check out onpay.com for our Payroll 101 or HR Basics resources, along with great articles and guides.
In the meantime, thanks for joining us and have a great day, y'all.